studying the standardization manual we provide for them, which tells them all the call-outs, configurations of the aircraft, airspeeds, and how to fly the maneuvers that are required by the FAA. The moment you start deviating from standard operating procedures is when mistakes start to happen. So that's why I want to make sure my students reinstill those characteristics in them so that they're flying the safest airplane and being the safest pilot they can be. I think I already had a little bit of an interest in airplanes because my parents' house in Greensboro was on the approach path for the Piedmont Triad Airport. So planes would fly by all the time and I would sit on the driveway and watch them as they flew by. When I was 7 years old, my family took me on my first airline trip down to Disney World on Father's Day. My sister and I went to our seats, we sat down, and a few moments later the flight attendants came to our seats and said the pilots needed to talk to us. So at that point, I thought we were getting in trouble and getting kicked off the airplane. But I was like, what could I have possibly done in the last 10 minutes that was gonna get me kicked off? So the flight attendants took us up to the cockpit where the captain and first officer were waiting for us with a smile on their face. My sister had mentioned to them that I'd really had an interest in airplanes and becoming a pilot. So they showed me around the cockpit, let me press a few buttons, sit in the captain's seat, and also let me announce a Happy Father's Day to my dad over the PA, which was a really special moment for me. And along with that and the adrenaline rush of taking off and landing, that pretty much engulfed in me that I wanted to be a pilot and do this for the rest of my career. I always wanted to be a pilot, but just in case that didn't work out, I wanted a backup plan so that I could have a career of something else that I was interested in as well. So I ended up going to UNC Charlotte to study finance there. Graduated UNC Charlotte in 2022. I worked in finance for a year before finally coming to Blue Line to pursue my career in aviation. Definitely some of those courses in college that you were like, why do I need to take this to get a finance degree? And some of my friends thought the same about their degrees as well. I was at a Part 61 school in Greensboro before I attended college. I knew something was missing from that experience, such as structure, and it was also going too slow and I was flying inconsistently. Some of my friends that I had who did trainings at Part 61 schools when we were in college, I knew it took them 2 to 3 years to even get their private pilot certificate, and comparing that to what Blue Line offered immediately drew my attention. But I did have to go and see it for myself and see if I could do it in 5.5 months, which I knew was possible. You know that you need to learn everything you're taught here because that's what you're going to be using in your actual aviation career, either as a flight instructor afterwards, and then when you eventually go to a corporate, cargo, or airline job in the future. So I researched Blue Line. They had really good reviews. I figured I needed to come in for a tour and start talking to someone on the sales team to figure out what the next steps would be to do that. So after looking through the website and getting in touch with Daniel Hughes, he's a CFI here now, and it's been awesome to work with him since doing my tour with him and now working along with him as a CFI. He called me in for a tour in December of 2021. He showed me and my parents around, was super helpful and encouraging about becoming a pilot in general, apart from Blue Line as well. And it was more than just, selling me the school. It was about actually becoming a pilot and doing it in an effective manner. Since I walked in the doors, it felt like a family here. Everyone was super welcoming, making me feel already at home from the first time I came here. And Daniel helped support that as well by giving me all the details, helping us answer any questions that we had about the program. He showed me the aircraft, which were super modern. They have the G1000 avionics system, which is really helpful for pilots training in today's world because those are systems that are similar to what you're gonna be flying when you move on to bigger and faster aircraft in the future. I told him I had to finish college, and he was like, okay, I'll check back in with you in a few months. After 3 or 4 months had passed, he reached out to schedule a discovery flight with me to see if I could come in, fly with an instructor, and see how Blue Line's procedures work. Flew with an instructor, and that sold me right there. I was pretty much sold. The instructor was super fun to fly with. We got to do a little bit of sightseeing around the local area here in Johnson County, and he let me fly the plane for a majority of the time so I could get a feel for what Blue Line's training would look like when I was here as a student. My instructors always emphasize professionalism in the cockpit, which includes doing all your flows first, verifying with the checklist. Super important because it tells you exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to fly the airplane in the proper configuration. Other tasks include call-outs are very important, so studying the standardization manual we provide for them, which tells them all the call outs, configurations of the aircraft, airspeeds, and how to fly the maneuvers that are required by the FAA. The moment you start deviating from standard operating procedures is when mistakes start to happen and pilots may get apathetic. So that's why I want to make sure my students reinstill those characteristics in them so that they're flying the safest airplane and being the safest pilot they can be. Right, kind of like a hazardous attitude situation. If you give them some type of failure, that helps them react in the middle of a real life scenario. I worked as a CFI in the private academy and instrument academies here for my first 6 months. After that, a position opened up for the assistant lead for private and IFR, and I knew that's something I wanted to chase. Because one thing I learned in CFI class in my time at Blue Line was professional development. How are you going to better yourself as an aviator as you go throughout your career? Because the industry of aviation is always evolving and innovating, and we have to follow along with that. So I ended up applying for that position, interviewing for it, and got selected for that position. And that helped me look at the student base from a more broad characteristics and allow me to help them on a much higher level than I was with being a CFI and being one-on-one with my personal students. After being an assistant lead for about 7 months, I eventually got promoted to multi-engine Academy Lead, which is my current position here. I mainly handle our commercial multi-engine and multi-engine instructor programs. Being in this role has made me step up a lot and helping with all the other academies we offer with students as well, and being their point of contact to help them with any issues they may have, as well as make sure they get through their training in an effective timeline.
Cool. All right, you can just finish that up and then we'll go have some fun. Sweet.
My ultimate goal is to become an airline pilot. That's what I've wanted to do since my experience as a 7-year-old on that Delta flight. First of all, Blue Line helped me achieve my dreams by helping me gain all my ratings in the shortest period possible, but then also hiring me on as an instructor to build those valuable flight hours that are going to get me to that airline position one day. I've also been able to take up leadership roles where I've been able to help people achieve their own dreams. And that's the best feeling you can get as a flight instructor, is seeing people go from no experience to now becoming CFIs, MEIs, commercial pilots that are going to be the next generation of aviation experts that are flying you guys around and living out their dreams as well.